We are live. What is up, everybody? Aaron the Dog back with breakdown 2 of 3 for the week. The UFC London card has arrived for Lewis and the rest of us here with MMA community. Josh Byers joining me from Rooted MMA, Fight Bananas, many other establishments. He's, the future, as one Dave Van Auken likes to say. What up, Steve? Good to see you. And then Lewis from Norton MMA. Big week for it's officially London MMA week between the Cage Warriors card, which we covered yesterday on the channel. It's up right now. Check it out right after this with timestamps. Or the UFC London. I think both cards are really great, but I will admit the UFC. Sometimes I like to guys say, "Oh, this card's better than the UFC card this week." The UFC's got the card this weekend. I'll go to you first, Josh, and let Lewis kind of bring us home. What are your kind of thoughts on the card overall this weekend?
I like it. I always like these early start times for the US, like 12.
Early start time, afternoon for us. Time. Yeah,
it's nice to just watch some fights in the afternoon. And I think I saw a video. There's a lot of top prospects, like the word that comes to mind. A lot of really good up and coming fighters on this card. A lot of good, like big name value guys. Like the first fight of the night, which we'll get into, Muhammad Mokaev. Excited to see what he has, and he's got probably so much hype. But I like this whole card. I like the main event too, with Aspinall and stuff. So I think it's a well-rounded card overall. There's you've got talent pretty much throughout the entire card, which I like.
Yeah, and then right away, we're not going to edge too much on these because we're going to go into all these. Obviously, we'll talk about Durden in a minute, so I'm going to ignore Durden completely. Shord, Reed, and Hooker being live dogs. Yeah, sure. I think all three of those are completely live dogs, if I'm being honest. Just based on the odds, particularly with the Reese fight, Corey McKenna, she ain't no minus 250 against anybody yet. Let's be honest, with her 59-inch reach. And then Dan Hooker, early on it was tempting to kind of count him out, but we'll talk about that as we go. But I think they're all live dogs in my opinion. Those three at least. Durden we'll talk about in a minute. You guys disagree with any of that? Feel like any of those are out of line to say?
I don't think Durden should be counted.
Well, that's why it said not Durden. Yeah, no,
I agree. Yeah.
Well, I'm wearing black.
Then, black for London, London's finest. But I'm actually gonna mix it up here. I'm gonna have Lewis introduce Mokaev here, or Muhammad here, and teach me how to say his name when I get back. I'll be right back. I apologize for starting it out this way, but we are on Cody Durden and Mokaev. Be right back.
Yeah, man. Muhammad Mokaev is literally the hypest train you could ever get. He is from Dagestan, but he's learned pretty much all his tools of the trade in the UK. If you hear him talk, you'll hear the Russian. But I'm glad he's flying the British flag, to be honest with you. He's an absolute monster. Now, it may say 5-0, but I'm pretty sure he's got a 24-0 record as an amateur. And I mean, running through people, just smashing them. He's got all the confidence in the world. He believes he's going to be the youngest champion in UFC history. He thinks he's going to smash John Jones's record. And this is Durden's a great opponent to get you a ranked fighter next, because Durden, I don't know, you might correct me, because I don't know American statuses with wrestling, but he's up there as a very, very good wrestler. So that's the only department I could see Mokaev maybe getting challenged in, is maybe they want to have a grapple fest. But Mokaev's striking is absolutely legit. And he thought he was going to strike with Blaine O'Driscoll and ended up taking his back and strangling him pretty quickly as well. And he's fighting guys in his debut where they're all experienced. Other than Dave Jones, he's fought people with good experience, like Jamie Kelly 3-0, and you got Abdul Hussein was 7-1, I think, at the time. And Blaine O'Driscoll had like 13 or 14 fights at the time, if off the top of my head. But that was in Brave as well, which is obviously the Emirates organization. But yeah, man, I think Cody Durden's a really game opponent, but I don't see him causing any problems unless Mokaev kind of gets super overconfident and cocky, which isn't really his game. He's quite humble. He knows how good he is. He's not Paddy Pimblett where he's hyping himself up to the over limit. He's just saying, I am going to run through these guys. And I really believe he will. I don't see him being challenged that hard in the wrestling because I think his striking is so much above Durden's. So 5 is not 5-0. That is he's got a ridiculous.
Yeah, that streak on Topology says 29 wins in a row. He's on a 29 fight win streak. That's ridiculous. And they're
sorry about that, guys.
Yeah,
so I'm definitely I think that Makayev, I'm looking forward to going back and listening to Lewis kind of go through the bio of him. I do know Lewis is much more familiar with him than I was, so a lot of what I'm doing is kind of researching things Lewis already knew. So
my one point would be you should be a lot more excited about Makayev than nearly every other British fighter right now. Like this guy.
Yeah, if his last name was, if it was Mohammed Nurmagomedov, we'd have a whole lot more hype right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But because his last name's Makayev and not Makayevov, it doesn't have the "ov" at the end of it. So now we're like, we're gonna have to.
Flying from Britain, so we claim him when he's a champ. We claim him.
Of course. Yeah, this is.
We've only got one. So.
So for Durden overall, did we talk about Durden at all?
Yeah. I said Durden. I don't know. I said to Josh as well. I don't know the standard of wrestling he's got, but I know it's very high level, and that could be one aspect he thinks he can compete in against Makayev. But if he's
going to be much bigger,
that's never phased Makayev. He's always the smallest guy. He's a very small guy in general.
The fight that I really liked of Makayev's that I went back and watched because you see a lot of decisions and. I don't have a problem with that, especially at the amateur level. I think that's the idea. I don't think you need to go in there and win 17 seconds. But the fight against Liam Giddens, which I know we bring up Liam Giddens a lot, and it's usually getting beat lately, but he really is a good fighter, very good fighter. And just that level of kind of what he showed against Blaine O'Driscoll and Brave, I mean, he
wanted to strike with Blaine O'Driscoll and ended up snatching his neck.
He kind of, I mean, I don't want to say like runs into submissions, but like I do think he's going to strike his way into a submission against Durden. I think Durden's going to be the one who shoots in early and often. I don't think it will be very successful. Durden is bigger, but not better. And I mean, that's simple as that. He's going to get drained as the fight goes on. I think that it would kind of be interesting to maybe keep an eye on the live bet if Makayev comes out a little bit tentative or tense at 21 years old making his UFC debut. I'm just saying because Durden catches guys early on. He 10-8'd Chris Gutierrez pretty handily in that end. I mean, he can surprise fighters. I'm just saying overall, I'm on Makayev completely as well, though. The odds are, I think, about where they should be for this fight. Last I saw, I think minus 375. But wow. Yeah,
it's amazing, isn't it? That's the hype behind the guy.
Minus 350. I mean, we had Umar Nurmagomedov come in as a minus 500 favor against Sergey Morozov, who I think is better than Durden. So, we get these kind of favorites. I think is a huge favorite for a reason. Obviously it's early on the card, so you don't need to, go too crazy here, but we're on Makayev.
He called out Durden too. Like he's not even in the UFC and he's already calling his shots. Like he wanted Durden and he got him. And
I think he finishes him.
Yeah.
And then UFC betting expert saying he thinks Hadley's the better prospect. In his opinion,
has a lot more holes in his game at the moment, but he's a very good prospect as well. When he makes weight, that is.
And how old is Hadley?
25.
Yeah, so 4 years older than Makayev.
Jake Hadley.
Makayev has been fighting since he was 16, right?
In amateur,
it's just in IMAF again. There's a lot to really.
The highest
like
level
here.
of amateur you can get in Europe.
I mean, it's paid amateurs, which is, as far as I'm concerned.
Vasily Lomachenko of amateur MMA, like just non-stop winning just as many fights. He's got so much experience for 21 years old.
And he's favored at this level against a 12-3-1 opponent. So that is really not as much about doubting Cody as it is believing in Muhammad. So really excited for that. It's an awesome way to start out the card. Next fight is at bantamweight. One of my favorite guys from England for sure, Nathaniel. Still the prospect, Wood? Still going with the prospect?
Yeah, still his nickname, yeah.
The oldest prospect in MMA, either him or Phil Hawes. Not sure which one, but both guys. It was Bevon Lewis for a while too, but I think he got cut. So I think we're officially done with the Bevon Lewis potential era. But
I think so.
Yeah, Nathaniel Wood taking on a guy who I was talking to you guys before this show. I have no read on Vince Morales. If I remember to make Tapology picks, my Tapology would probably be red for most of Vince Morales' fights because I seem to believe in him in the wrong spots and doubt him in the wrong spots. But we'll see if I can get on track with Vendetta this time. 11-5 for Vince, who also has, the Invincible shirt on, so he's not afraid of going with some puns. 2 straight wins. I didn't pick him, I think, in either one of these, to be honest. I did not pick him against Luis Smolka. I actually picked Smolka to get the finish there, and he finished Smolka real quickly. I get it. Smolka's been through some battles. And then Draco Rodriguez, I decided, fool me once, Draco, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. He fooled me twice in the UFC. I believe that Draco is going to shake off the jitters and come back and look better against Vince Morales, and Vince just kind of laid it on him. And then against Chris Gutierrez, I thought that, Cody Durden had some luck with wrestling him. Vince is going to wrestle here, and he's going to get his decision. And sure enough, he got walked into leg kicks the whole night. And one of the worst performances I've seen inside the octagon, against Gutierrez. So, yeah, it's been a rough little run. I think I got the Yadong Song fight right. I'm pretty sure I got that one right. So there's that. Vince he's a really aggressive, well-rounded fighter. As much as I've kind of make fun of him here, he's had his ups and downs in the UFC. Obviously, losing to Benito Lopez, I don't think that was a loss, but I'm not going to go back and rewatch that full fight anytime soon. I remember, and then I went to MMA Decisions, and 13 of the 15 journalists had it for Morales also. So this was like during that weird Benito Lopez hype train a little while ago. But either way, Morales, he's well-rounded. He strikes well. I mean, he showed his knockout power in his last fight that I hadn't really seen prior to that in quite a while. But that could have more to do with Smolka. And now he's going against a much quicker, much crisper fighter, Nathaniel Wood. He's got a couple losses inside the UFC. I know that you feel he beat Casey Kenny. I think that half
Very
of Casey Kenny
anyway.
Yeah, half of Casey Kenny's wins, I feel like you can be like, the other guy I think won. But maybe that's, again, my thing about Casey Kenny. But, yeah, Nathaniel Wood, still only 28 years old, so I thought he was 30 at this point. So I guess he can hold on to the prospect until he's 30. But once you're 30, you have to come up with a new nickname, Nathaniel. Like, you cannot be the prospect at 30. So still only 28 years old, which is kind of crazy for how long he's been in the UFC. He did look competitive against Casey Kenny. I thought it was a really close fight. He had 2 bouts that he had to back out of. Shaolinian had to back out of the last one, had to back out against Martinez. Shaolinian would have been a really close, interesting fight. I think it would have. I would have favored Nathaniel there, and I do favor Nathaniel here. The fight against Dodson was obviously a huge disappointment. And those aren't the issues he's going to have against Vince Morales. Vince Morales is not very fast. That is kind of one of the weaker aspects of his game. And I think Nathaniel Wood is just going to be quicker on the feet. If one of these fighters gets to the ground, it will be Nathaniel. You're confident in the finish. I hope I see a finish. I'm fearing I'm going to see a closer decision than I want to. But I still am going to take Nathaniel, but a little bit nervous at the price he's at. If it's a close decision, I don't love a minus 315 ever. So that's just my opinion. Josh, what are your thoughts on this fight?
I'm impressed with Vince Morales, especially in his last 2 fights. But for Nathaniel Wood, the Castaneda fight ages pretty well because Castaneda looked so good in his last fight.
True.
The speed thing that you talked about, I think Nathaniel Wood is going to be a faster, more crispier striker in this matchup. But Vince has power. He showed it against Smolka. He showed that he's got hands too. But Nathaniel Wood has fought, I think better competition throughout his career, win, loss, whatever has happened. But I'm not a huge Nathaniel Wood guy, to be honest with you. I'm not like huge on him. But
You're not big Wood. You don't have big Wood for Wood. Okay.
But I do think this is a fight he can very well win. Like, he could beat Vince Morales, but Vince has looked good in his last 2 fights. So I'm not going to be overly shocked if Vince can, and Vince has got it done by decision. He's got it done by finish. He gets it done in both ways. But I think Nathaniel Wood coming off of a loss, I think he is going to look a little bit better than we have seen in the past. And I think we'll see a really good performance out of Nathaniel Wood tonight or tomorrow night. I don't know if we'll get the finish. It's not even tomorrow night. What is today? Wednesday?
I know. Isn't it? We still got to wait. Yeah.
Yeah, we got but Nathaniel Wood for sure. I mean, if he's a minus 315, I think we're going 2 for 2 in the first 2 fights for sure. I got Nathaniel Wood.
Yeah.
Mate, Wood is going to run through him. No problem.
All right, just a quick disclaimer for everybody. Lewis is very excited this week with Cage Warriors and UFC being in London. He's going to be a little more hyperbolic than usual. I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there for the rest of the video.
I will be honest as well. I will not be biased.
No, of course. I'm just saying you're excited. You're excited. I know.
I've watched Nathaniel Wood's whole career and pretty much whole career live. The guy basically got in firefights in Cage Warriors all the time, which is what Vince Morales is going to want. Nathaniel Wood has genuine knockout power. If you haven't seen it, go watch Iavine. The fight before he got into the UFC, one punch literally face plants the guy, just hits him once and walks away. It's like Derek Lewis style. He legit has this power. He's got a phenomenal chin. The thing was, Dodson, he was beating the snot out of Dodson. Front body kicks, chopped the leg, broke. Yeah, the bias is coming out with Wood. It will. Yeah. But Morales, you guys rate Morales way too goddamn high.
I'm being fair with what I've seen. I don't know what he is. I don't know what Morales.
Nathaniel Wood holds the record for the most leg kicks in the bantamweight division in one fight.
Okay. All right, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah,
low leg kicks are his bread and butter. He's super active, has an incredible reach, uses the reach, pops his shoulder out to get an extra advantage. He's got phenomenal cornermen. He's coming out of GB top team now, which obviously since his last fight didn't exist. So he's got state-of-the-art facilities. And he's coming in better prepared than ever. Vince Morales is taking this on 11 days' notice, bear in mind. Ludwig Schulinan had to pull out during the, obviously, Ukraine incidents.
Good point.
So Vince Morales is not ready for all the attributes that Nathaniel Wood comes in. And every time he fights, he looks better than ever. That Casey Kenny victory loss to me shows very well. Is
this Lewis's nickname, Justin? Grandpa Cage Warrior?
Hell yeah. I'll take that.
Grandpa Cage Warrior is going to be a proud papa on Saturday.
Yeah,
dude.
Justin doesn't know what a comma is.
Justin is so well. Yeah, Justin doesn't. Justin knows what he knows, and then Justin, real quick, and then we'll get back to the final thoughts. Wood reminds me these semi-tall, plain ground game sucking, punching Wood is like Arosa. No, thank you. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, except he's extremely well-rounded and he'll choke you out as well. He's got Ashley James.
I don't know how you understood. I don't know how you understood that sentence. I definitely did.
Well, he's saying he's as good. He thinks he's as good as Arosa. No thanks for this, but it's Nathaniel Wood is genuinely phenomenal to me.
That's the first and only time you'll see Arosa compared to Nathaniel.
Yeah, I mean,
Wood. Nathaniel Wood's 5'6". Nathaniel Wood is a 5'6" bantamweight. Arosa's like 6'1", and yeah. At 155.
I have a comparison for Nathaniel Wood. What about Kyle Bochniak on the feet, at least?
Yeah, he just doesn't take as many shots as Kyle to the face, I think.
I would think he's more technical than Kyle.
They've probably got both good at chins, though.
Yeah,
Kyle's a savage, man.
Yeah, Kyle does. So we're all on Nathaniel Wood here. Do you feel the finish though, Lewis?
Yeah, I can see him. I can see him.
Leg kicks.
Fight and. No, I don't see leg kicks. I can see another choke. He's got a ridiculous ground game. You know, he's in Cage Warriors is known as a knockout artist. He came over to the UFC and got a Darce choke and a rear naked choke straight away. So he's just super well rounded. It could be anywhere. I feel like it is. If it's going to be a firefight, it's best. That's Morales' best chance. But I don't think Wood's not that stupid, mate. He's not stupid to let the guy that has one opportunity at winning.
So how would you feel? How would you feel about me doing a double parlay to just start out with Wood and Makayev of nearly even money for those two?
I mean, I would definitely put those two in.
those two just to win by not even by I might just do that for even money to start out the night. Wood is a minus 300. I think that leg kick point. I totally forgot that fight where he does throw a lot of leg kicks.
If anyone wants to go watch a Nathaniel Wood fight, just watch how active he is. He doesn't ever stop. He's got a phenomenal gas tank as well. And
minus
11 days notice for Vince.
Right, minus 300 plus 250 on Vince Morales. If Vince wins this fight,
he's also the only Londoner on the card. So the reception he's going to get and the booze Vince is going to get.
Yeah, that's a good. The poor Vince. I feel bad for him. If Vince wins this fight, I'm officially just closing my eyes on the next Vince Morales fight. And although next Vince Morales fight, you get Mirab Divashvili or something after this, they'd make sure Vince Morales didn't go on a 4-fight win streak. That's what I'm saying. He is not going on a 4-fight win streak. He's getting the Kazula Vargas treatment. Next fight here, 115. Is the division, also known as strawweight. Coy Mckenna makes her return to the octagon, her glorious return here. Shortest reach, I'm pretty sure, in the UFC at 59 inches. Cory McKenna, out of Wales, now 22 years old because she's been off for a little while. Taking on Elise Reed out of New Jersey, 29-year-old, 4-1. 6-1 and 4-1, so early on in their careers still. But Corey Poppins McKenna is the younger of the two, now 22 years old. Sorry, 58-inch reach. Did I say 59? I meant 58. I'm sorry, gave her an inch there. 58 inches. 58 inches, people. That is a 4-foot 10-inch wingspan. That's wild to me. That is, but she's been pretty effective so far. I'm not sure if she was at Team Alpha Male for this camp or not. I know she has been in the past. 4 straight wins, though, for took on Kay Hansen in her UFC debut after beating Vanessa Demopoulos on the Contenders Series. So 2 wins over two pretty decent grapplers. Vanessa Demopoulos is pretty good with her jiu-jitsu. The rest of her game is a little bit questionable, and the Kay Hansen fight was pretty close, honestly, and I don't exactly rate Kay Hansen that highly. As a matter of fact, I think Kay Hansen's one of the worst fighters currently in the UFC. So I am not wasn't blown away from what Corey showed me in that fight. It was in November of 2020. She's been off for a while. Was supposed to come back up against Emily Spitfire, and she had to withdraw, I believe, with I'm not sure what injury, but I'm pretty sure it was an injury. And it's just a fight to me that I think is going to be very close. Elise Reed obviously had her UFC debut up a weight class on 3 days' notice against Sijara Eubanks. Not a good idea. So Sijara, I don't know. Did Sijara make weight for that fight? Even if she did, Sijara against a legit strawweight, that's just a recipe for disaster. And Elise Reed, she went out quick. So, I don't think that was exactly the best showing of her. This is a girl or a woman, I should say, who, as a 61.5-inch reaching, that gives her near 3.5-inch advantage in reach, which is crazy to me. She beat Jillian DeCourcy, who is a name that you should be familiar with. Jasmine Davicius. It was a split decision. It was very, very close, and it was her second fight of her pro career. So, I just think that, and I think those are very good. And also she was fighting for the strawweight title, and her second fight of her career. She won 5 rounds. So, I just think those are really, really good signs. She's a scrapper. Hilary Rose is another girl who's almost made it to UFC, and for her to put her away with elbows like that, really impressive to me. Early in the week, I, kind of felt that Corey McKenna is just kind of the more well-rounded fighter and just going to be able to get this fight to where she needs to get to have the advantages. And I still feel that way. I'm still going with Corey McKenna. I don't think it's going to be extremely impressive. I don't think a lot of her wins are going to be quote-unquote impressive, but I think that she just has some pretty significant, tools in her kind of mentality and her approach to the game that I think are going to win her a lot of fights. And this is just one for me that Elise, I'm not sure how good she is off of her back. That does seem to be where she's weakest, and I do think Corey's going to be working to get it there. So take Corey by a decision. Not super confident in it. Lewis, your thoughts?
Absolutely that. She's to answer your question, she's been training at Alpha Male the entire camp.
Okay.
Which is gonna, I think that's a really good camp actually for someone in the strawweight division. I think that kind of game you'd bring, especially with the takedowns, is something that the divisions always lack. You see in the female fights, most of them, all the females that kind of master the art of wrestling go straight to the top very quickly. There's question marks over both ladies, isn't there? But Corey's the hot prospect here. I do think she has enough to beat Elise Reed, especially Elise sticking up. She's going up in weight, but I'm not convinced yet by Corey McKenna. I like her a lot. I think she's got a good future ahead of her. But at 22 years old, there's always during the headlights moments. There's all these things that can contribute.
And she's still got a 58-inch reach.
But that's never affected her really. I think she
not yet.
Not yet, but I can't go off yet. With Elise Reed doesn't use a reach, so
yeah.
If they stand in the pocket and trade, then it's going to be entertaining. And I think that's what if Corey wants to do that, fine. But I don't think she will. I think she's going to have a game plan of just drag her to the mat and grind out a decision, get some experience under her belt. It's a close fight, though. I wouldn't begrudge anyone for taking Reed at all.
Right now the odds, and the odds have it crazy, minus 250.
I think that's a bit steep. If it's that. But it's a pick 'em for me.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on this, Josh? I know this is kind of a fight that there's not too much to go off of.
No, if I'm going to make a pick, it's going to be Elise Reed. You might as well. Like, I think her resume is a little bit more impressive, I would say. I mean, Cage Fury versus Cage Titans. And they both have like an equal amount of finishes I'm seeing. So, I mean, Kay Hansen, like you said, it's been disappointing watching some of her fights, and that's the last thing you have to go off with McKenna. It's like you can't take too much from that, unfortunately.
That was a long time ago. That was in 2020. She's been off for quite a while, had some injuries she was dealing with. But I mean,
I do like Team Alpha Male too. Like I'm a huge Uriah Faber fan, and I like Team Alpha Male. I wish for their success, but I mean, it's too close. Like Lewis said, pick 'em. If I'm gonna pick 'em, I'm gonna pick the dog, Elise Reed. Give it a shot, So that's what I'm booking.
That's a very odd way of looking at a fight.
Yeah, Justin's thoughts. I think women who profile picture who have big belts in the picture, like they can barely hold them, think they lose more than they win. I don't have the research in front of me, but I'm going to trust Justin is.
She looks like she can hold the belt just fine.
She looks really strong to me, dude. Like, she looks way tougher than Corey if we're just going off profile pictures. I would take Elise Reed based on the pictures, but I also went into the fights a little bit. I from a betting perspective, it's a dog or pass. I think you're either betting the plus 200 of Elise Reed or you're passing minus 250 on Corey McKenna. You don't want to go out that way. You just don't. Next fight of the night is a really, really good, very close fight. I think it's going to be very competitive at bantamweight between Timur Lucky Valiev. Has he been lucky? Taking on Jack Tank Shore. Has he been a tank? Both guys very, very good in all seriousness, though. We got another Wales fighter. We should really just go to UFC Wales. In Jack Shore out of Shore Mixed Martial Arts, a really budgeting camp out there, taking on the Jackson Winklejohn representative Timur Lucky Valiev, 18-2 allegedly. I'll look at Timur first here. 5'6", 67-inch reach for the 32-year-old Russian fighter. Really good resume before coming into UFC. And just overall, he's looked pretty good so far. The Trevin Jones fight obviously got into some trouble in that one. Got caught in the second round. It was turned to a no contest because Trevin Jones likes to smoke pot. I'm not going to judge Trevin Jones for that, and neither should you. Then came and, just kind of dominated Martin Day, which, wasn't exactly what I wanted to see out of that fight. When I see a fighter go against Martin Day in the UFC, I want to see him finish Martin Day. I just don't rate Martin Day at all. I think Martin Day should, and Timur, looked good in that fight, but I don't think he blew me away. The Barcelos fight was really, really close, earned his nickname there with getting the majority decision. I do think he won it, but I think it was, again, Barcelos is on the downslope. It's very clear from the last couple fights of Barcelos that he was a 30-year-old prospect for too long, became 35, and then, the wheels fall off. And Timur, 32, not quite to that place yet. Has the win over, Magomedov back at PFL. He has some really solid wins. He's quick on the feet, well-rounded overall. When he gets beat, he seems to get beat by strikes, and I haven't really seen him too dominated in the grappling. So it'd be really impressive if Shore can get in there and implement his game plan, which I do think Shore grapples in every single one of his fights. He's going to want to wrestle in this fight too. Can he get Timur to the ground and keep him there is the real question. And I really do think Shore can. I think that on the feet, he's got a decent reach advantage, and he uses it decently before crowding the pocket and crowding the pressure for the takedowns. Shore is the first underdog of the night that I am taking. I was quite surprised that he was an underdog. I figured it would be a pick'em. It's getting close to that at this point. I just haven't been too blown away with Timur so far inside of the UFC. And it might help that this fight is over in Europe. So, maybe he just doesn't travel as well, or maybe we just haven't seen the best version of him yet. But I really, exactly. He trains in New Jersey, but for whatever reason, even in his PFL fight, it just hasn't quite translated what I've seen over in his European tape, I guess I should say. But he does train, I believe, still in New Jersey. I'm not sure. I think he's moved around a little bit. But this is just one for me that I just like Shore's aggressiveness with the takedowns and his ability to get it there. And I think on the feet, it's going to be really competitive as well. But I would rate Timur a little bit higher on the feet, better movement, better speed and volume. But I do think Shore can use it enough to get it to where he wants it. So I'm going to take Shore, first underdog of the night for me. Still undefeated at 15-0. So, there's not a lot of these undefeated guys. A lot of them are grapplers like Bryce Mitchell, though. So, Josh, what's your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I love me some Jack Shore. I love watching every single one of his fights. And I want to see him against a guy like Umar, one of these top prospects, because I feel like he's ready for it. Timur Valiev is not the name that gets me pumped up for a Jack Shore fight. And he's like Steve said, I think it's going to be a really close fight. If he gets it to the ground, he's going to Timur Valiev is going to get some shots off, and we'll see how Jack Shore responds to that. But Jack Shore has responded well to pretty much every challenge in MMA in general. For him to be an underdog is kind of confusing to me because, Timur Valiev, he's going to come in there and brawl. And then I think Jack Shore is just a little bit more intelligent in there. He's got more tools. He's got more just a better way of winning and a better way of attacking a guy like Timur Valiev, where I don't want to say Timur is one-dimensional, but there's a way he can win the fight, and it's going to be to stand and really just kind of finish Jack Shore. And I don't think Jack Shore is going to let that happen, essentially. So for him to be a dog in this fight, I like that a lot. And I would take the dog on Jack Shore all day too, because he's one of the best prospects in MMA. He really is for me. And I want to see him against another top prospect. Timur Valiev is not a top prospect.
Damn. Yeah. 18. That's rough, but burying Timur a little bit. I like it. What's your thoughts, Lewis?
I think I rate Timur a little bit higher than that, but I do agree. I think this is maybe the next step, because what I see from Jack Shore, he's kind of taking a Sean O'Malley approach, almost like he's bit by bit getting better and better with opponents instead of just taking leapfrogs almost. This is the next step. The next step after this will be a top 10. There's no doubt. If he dominates Timur, I'm convincing myself Shore's going to run through him, but it's not going to be the case because Valiev is super quick. He's got really
visceral thinking, split decision incoming.
Yeah, and that was my first thought when I did this video with Scott on Inside MMA. It's he's a lot more confident than on Jack Shore just running through. And I thought Valiev could cause some real damage here. If you watch the Trevin Jones fight and how he kicks his legs out from under him, he's snatching him every second before he just gets caught with one shot. That's the only thing with Valiev. He does overexpose himself, and I think Josh nailed it. Jack's intelligence is just far superior here, and I think his fight IQ is second to none. If he's getting his legs snatched beneath him, he will take him down. He will out-grapple him, and he will save his legs, and that's how it will work. I don't see Shaw finishing him. I think Timur's just one of those guys that he's just really hard to finish. He doesn't get hit too much, but when he does get hit, again, his chin's up in the air, he's overexposed, and he gets hurt bad. The Barcelos one was, I actually thought that was arguably a draw. I thought Valiev didn't do enough to me to get a majority win. Was like, okay, but I'm not upset with the decision. But I didn't. The Trevin Jones fight, he definitely got KO'd. There's no doubt. It's not. It's not no contest. Rather, it's
right. And it was for weed. It wasn't for any sort of.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's even worse, mate. You got knocked out by a stoner. So.
Yeah, you know what? We got our strengths.
But I think Jack Shaw does enough to get this done. I do think it'll be a decision, and I'm with Josh. I'd like to see him face a top prospect, win or lose here. I think Jack Shaw is still ready for. Proper ranked guys because he's so damn good. Yeah,
this is a really good fight, right? And the money, as I think it would be expected, coming in on Jack Shore. I think Timur is one of these favorites who's kind of set up to be an underdog by fight night, to be honest. Right now, the minus 105 I'm seeing on Bovada for Jack Shore, minus 115 for Timur Valiev. He's going to have a plus in front of his name by fight night. So if you are betting Timur Valiev, just wait because you can get him as an underdog as the money comes in because Short is going to have a ton of steam behind him. I think he's pretty well liked as long as people keep him separate from Brett Johns. Sometimes they get him confused with Brett Johns. I'll be one of those people. Sorry, the Welsh
they do look similar as well.
Yeah. They fight really similar too, but I think Jack is the better version. We'll say Brett Johns is Jack Shore at home, as Mom
Isn't Jack Shore? Doesn't he just train? Isn't his dad his coach?
Yeah, he's at Shore MMA.
Yeah,
his dad's his coach and manager, I believe, which has got to be a weird dinner conversation occasionally.
There's a few of these guys like that. I think Nathaniel Wood's dad's in his corner as well.
Yeah, I think you've read.
And Tom Aspinall's.
Dude, what the fuck? Brit Daddy Boys here. Fucking
Tom Aspinall's dad runs the Jiu-Jitsu Academy.
I know. I know.
Nathanial Wood's dad's a martial artist.
Yeah, I get it.
They're all crazy. We love it, dude. We love it.
We get it. You guys all have daddy issues.
You can't lose in front of your dad, dude, if he's in your corner.
That's it. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, they can just ask Chris Weidman. Anyways, next fight. That's still my boy, Nikita Krylov. Taking on Paul Craig. You certainly can lose in front of your father. He showed that with authority. But Nikita Krylov, not sure if he's lost in front of his father or not, but he has lost. He has lost in his career quite a few times, 8 times now, 27-8 for the Ukrainian fighter. Still only 29 years old in his second go-around in the UFC, taking on the 34-year-old Paul Bear Jew Craig. What is there to say about Paul Craig? He is the reason that Magomed Ankalaev doesn't have a perfect record by 1 second. 1 second away from a perfect record for Magomed Ankalaev. The amount of hype that the UFC could be putting behind him would be double what it is just from that. But either way, Paul, we know what he's good at. He's good at occasionally having a flashy strike. Sometimes those flashy strikes put him in terrible positions. Alonzo Menafield, hello. Or he gets the submission, plain and simple. What he did to Jamal Hill in that last fight was unreal. That just showed there are such levels to this game. Now Paul's on this little impromptu contender run that I don't think he ever believed he'd be on. And one thing that's pretty cool about Paul is he's very aware that he could be very close to not being in the situation he's in with some of his wins. That Ankalaev win, I think he said, changed his career completely, really made him much more focused on MMA. He was a late kind of, starter into MMA anyways. But, he's a good fighter. He's had a couple rematches with Shogun, and whatnot. But 4 straight wins and then the draw inside there. But Maria, okay. And Antigulov, okay. He did knock out Shogun and then, got the submission over Jamal Hill. And Krylov has been submitted quite a few times in his career. And Krylov does something every single fight, win or lose, it seems like, where you kind of slap your head and you're like, what is he doing? It's just probably what you get with Nikita Krylov. I essentially is a crash test dummy to me. But he's very, very good everywhere. He's very quick. On the feet is where he needs to keep this fight. I do not want to see Krylov wrestling, but I have a feeling Krylov is going to wrestle in this fight. And I think when he wrestles, he's going to get into trouble. And I think when he gets into trouble, he's going to get submitted by Paul Craig. I have been fighting it all week. Maybe I'm looking at Krylov putting on a clinic and boxing his face in and destroying Paul Craig and retiring him. But I have a feeling Krylov's going to get comfortable, get into the wrestling, and get submitted from the guard of Paul Craig. I got Paul Craig in this fight by submission, and I'm not proud of it.
Dude, I know you because when I originally put this video out, you said Krylov
by KO.
Yeah. But I will just say to anyone that hasn't watched interviews or anything recently with Paul Craig, he did say he was going to retire at 35 years old. He's now changed his mind. His missus made him change his mind and said, "Are you done with this sport?" And he said, "No, I don't want to retire." So she kept
that, and some shocking wins have made him change his mind. Shocking submission.
Yeah, but he said today in the press conference, "If I don't beat Krylov, I don't deserve to be here." That's because that's why he fell in love with his hands. He fell in love with his hands and he started getting knocked out. He is not a striker, and now he is a smart guy, and he realized that.
Yeah.
Since I don't know why he had to rematch Shogun because he beat him the first time anyway.
Right.
But so to me, he's on a 5-fight win streak. But that Jamal Hill wins coming up nicely now, isn't it? Just absolutely.
It was in 2 minutes.
That's what he does. He's gonna. I promise you, he will be trying to pull guard immediately with Krylov. Krylov always takes opponents down.
Yeah.
Always.
That's what I'm saying.
And sits in their guard. If you sit in Paul Craig's guard, he's going to get an underhook.
Exactly.
He's going to lever your arm, and he's going to snap it a new one because the guy's jiu-jitsu is next level. He's that guy. He's the Brian Ortega of light heavyweight. He really is. Especially in a guard game.
Yeah. And not to interrupt you too much, but I wouldn't be surprised if Craig doesn't kind of play possum a little bit at first to allow him to get a little bit comfortable. He's not going to immediately, I think, be shooting up for these submissions, or maybe he does again like he did with Jamal Hill. I mean, I don't but go ahead.
Yeah, but I was going to say if Krylov is intelligent, he will try and just make this a kickboxing fight, and
he's not, though.
That's my issue. I don't think he's ever done that. But if he's smart, he will.
He's never been. He's never been smart. Yeah, right.
Exactly. But also, I'd like to say that he's very conflicted with Ukrainians and Russians. And I've learned this week, that because he's worn Russian colors and is from Ukraine, that Ukrainians don't like him and Russians are questionable on him. And the atmosphere, if you've ever been to the UK, these Russians are not going to get a good response, unfortunately. We make 100 people sound like 10,000. And the Scots and Paul Craig are on another level, and I reckon half the tickets have been bought by Scottish guys for UFC London, all to see Paul Craig. He's been he's been dropped from the main card to the prelims now, which I'm not happy about. I think this deserves to be on the main card. But I can just the whole vibe of Paul Craig this week and how happy he is and how he's like, this is almost Paul Craig 2.0. This is his last run. I'm not backing off against Paul Craig's submission. I just think it's going to happen. But I would not be surprised if Krylov just wins a decision and it bores the hell out of me because
I would be shocked by that. I feel like it's a Krylov KO or a Craig submission.
No, I don't think KO Craig. Because if he hurts Craig, I think you're right. Possum is on the cards. It's all unhurt. Nate Diaz them to the floor and then grab him. Craig knows how he's going to win.
Yeah, Visceral has Krylov. Josh, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like you, Aaron. I've gone back and forth with this one since it was announced. And I came into this fight thinking it was Paul Craig's last fight. I didn't know he changed his mind. I thought this was going to be his last fight, and
it might be.
It might be.
Yeah. If he loses to Krylov, it will be. If he loses to Krylov, it will be.
Yeah, that makes you want to pick Paul Craig, but Nikita Krylov has been pretty much around the top of the light heavyweight division without like being at the top. Like, but he's always fighting guys who are, you know, contenders, or they won the belt. They're really close to the belt. So his level of competition is super high, and he's got a ton of experience. And Visceral, you're not on the island because, I mean, looking at this fight, I do think Nikita Krylov can do enough to beat Paul Craig, avoid the takedowns. I think the Jamal Hill fight, for me, like, Paul Craig beat him at something that Jamal Hill is not very good at, which is being on the ground, you know, being in someone's guard. It's something he's not really proficient at. So it is impressive that he beat the guy, and Jamal Hill is definitely ascending in this sport. But I mean, the submission was beautiful. It just, he beat him at what he wasn't good at. So I like Nikita Krylov to be a little bit better on the ground than Jamal Hill for sure. And I think he can keep it standing.
I'd argue Jamal Hill's better on the ground than Krylov. I think Krylov's just got better sambo. I think he just holds people better. Yeah. Honestly, Jamal Hill's I think he just got his purple belt in jiu-jitsu.
And maybe Paul Craig's like jiu-jitsu is really like that good. He just made Jamal Hill look like he didn't even belong.
It is like Glover on top is Paul Craig off his back. It really is.
And Paul Craig's going to be in that position at some point in this fight.
He's one-dimensional, but he's kind of one-dimensional, and that's the issue. If he lets his hands go, I can see Krylov smashing him to bits.
Me too.
And I'm fully with Visceral. I think Krylov, if that's the case, because if Krylov, but that's the thing. It's all if Krylov is intelligent, which he's not.
Right.
You know,
but an intelligent,
he's going to go for a guard pull. That's it.
Intelligent Krylov is one of the best fighters in the world, to be honest.
Yes, he wins the belt. Intelligent.
If that guy does show up, minus 190 on Krylov. Wow, I'm pretty surprised by the wideness, but Paul Craig plus 150. I like it as an underdog shot.
Craig, that's why.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised he's not closer to a favorite. I mean, nearly a 2-1 favorite still for Krylov is pretty surprising to me.
Oh, Krylov was sorry. I thought you said Craig was. Yeah, right.
No, Krylov is Krylov is the 2-1 favorite here. Really good fight on the prelims. It's not even the featured prelim. It's like the middle of the prelims. It's really odd decision making by the UFC. But what else is new? More on
the card's well balanced. It's like you get a little bit of everything throughout the card. I think it's balanced.
No, I definitely agree. Next fight, not one of my favorite fights on the card, if I'm being honest with you. Shamia Abdurakimov, still ranked in the top 10 of the heavyweight division in 2022. That's unacceptable. But I guess someone has to be in there. I mean, Jake Collier's coming for your spot. Abdurakimov, I'm telling you right now, the prospect is on his way.
Prototype.
Or whatever, you know. I'm thinking about Nathaniel Wood, the prototype, head of the prototype fan club. Sorry, taking on Sergey Pavlovic. Sergey Pavlovic came into the UFC and was hyped up as this like Russian smasher, and they gave him Overeem like super early for some reason, and Overeem absolutely smashed him. Pavlovich crushes cans, plain and simple. That's what he's done for a lot of his career so far. He's been off for quite a while. Don't know what's been going on. Hasn't fought since October of 2019. So not really sure. Maybe it has something to do with USADA being involved. Who knows? He has a win over his wins in the UFC are Marcelo Golm, which fine. I mean, he early in his career. I don't know if that's a good win or not. And Maurice Green, who I know for certain is not good. Maurice Green, very, very bad, but at least he knocked him out quickly. He has a win over Baby Fedor, and, that's about it. Like the rest of these wins, not exactly too notable. Mostly goes in there and kind of doesn't have the best lateral movement in the world. Goes for the strikes, goes for the knockout. Shamia Abdurakimov has just looked worse and worse every fight that he's been in there, though. Like this man is falling apart. He's 20-6, but yeah, he's just not very good. He looks every bit of 40 years old. I don't know what to really say. Chris Dawkins fight, he did get some good shots in the first round before he completely fell off a cliff in the second round and got put away. I just think that the way that Dawkins put him away was really clean strikes and then gets ground and pounded by Curtis Blades. I mean, the common perception would be Pavlovic by KO. I hope it's a KO. Otherwise, it's going to be 15 minutes of horribleness and a chance of Abdurakimov eking out a decision. But I'll take Pavlovic by KO. What's your thoughts on this fight, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, we saw it with, you said the 40-year-old, and it made me think of Guido Canetti last week just knocking out Matinho. That was just disgusting. Like, I mean, that was crazy. And, I mean, what's his fucking, how do you say his name? Abdurakimov. No.
Close enough.
Close.
Shamil.
But,
Shamil.
yeah, Pavlovic. This seems like, I agree with your statement. He looked good against Dawkins before he got knocked out. Like the snot came out of his mouth when he got flatlined. The win over Tarbura looks good. Obviously, one guy's got a really good resume. Or even Andrei Arlovsky, that guy's winning fights back to back. So I think this is like a Guido Canetti kind of thing. I think he's going to come in and knock out Pavlovic because you see in Pavlovic.
I like it, dude. What a fucking call.
You see it, and like he's kill or be killed in there. Like he's going out and won. So Abdurakimov can get it done easily.
He cracks still a little bit. Okay, we got one for Shamil. That would be horrible.
I was so ready to hear something like that, and I think that's exactly what Shamil's going to do. He's going to come out like that. I think he's going to come out like that, but I think he's then going to get clipped by Sergey. yeah, and I think then he'll get clipped and he'll be out. So I think it's going to be like Travis Brown Arlovsky round one. Like
2 minutes of fury, and then he's going to be exhausted by the 4 minute mark.
Every person, every Brit who's in that stadium is going to go get a beer or go to the loo during this fight. 2 Russians during every other fight has a Brit pretty much on it. No one cares.
And they put it right in the middle for the bathroom break.
This is the bathroom.
Like, yo, these people need to use the bathroom.
It's your steak fight, isn't it? Yeah.
Steak fight. I hear it sizzling. Usually it's the, like I mean, that's the hope.
These odds are crazy. Like,
isn't this insane? Sergey Pavlovic is a minus. Sergey Pavlovic is a minus 330.
Take the dog for that. Dog or pass,
favorite. And it is an 8-inch reach advantage for Pavlovic, according to Tapology. I don't know if I believe that Pavlovic has an 84-inch reach. That seems buffered from what I've seen.
There's no way he has an 84-inch reach. No way.
That's what I'm saying.
No, that's longer than Jones's, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 4 inches longer than Jones.
He does look like a damn specimen, though. Like he's massive.
He looked like a specimen. We have not seen him since 2019. We do not know how he will agree with USADA testing.
he's gonna come out he's gonna look like Anthony Garrett.
He's gonna look like Todd Duffy 2.0. Anthony Garrett. Oh my God, no Anthony Garrett talk on here unless we're talking about him losing another fight. But Anthony Garrett fights are my favorite to break down in the world. I love breaking down the Lionheart Anthony Garrett. Sign him, UFC. Oh, who's he fighting next, and what weight will it be at? Probably welterweight. He's just all over the place. Like one fight he's like super heavyweight, the next fight he's light heavyweight. Always tapping out the strikes. I love Anthony Garrett. Sorry if you're watching this, Anthony. I feel really bad. But next fight, 145. Honestly, if your bathroom break goes a little longer, I think it'd be okay to go into this fight. I'm not sure this is going to be a very exciting fight. Mike Grundy and Makwan Amirkhani, put your grappling singlets on, everybody, because we're going to see an occasional strike, and then we're going to see scrambles and grapples, and who's better at doing those things. Mike Grundy has a really good right hand also, and apparently only a right hand. Like, that's all he throws is a right hand. Like, he does not throw much else. More credentialed grappler is Grundy here. I think he's going to be the bigger, more physical guy. Makwan Amirkhani was a guy who came into the UFC. I was really excited about him when he came in. The Andy Ogle finish, I was just like, man, this guy's got it all. He's got like the personality, he's got the belief, and he's a striker as well as a grappler. Wow. He definitely has a good like kind of anaconda Darce choke attacks. I don't think those will work on Mike Grundy. I think Mike Grundy just gets this fight to the ground and, you know, kind of decisions it out. Better wrestler of the two of these guys. The gas tank on both guys is questionable. Maybe Amirkhani has a slightly better gas tank. I just don't see Amirkhani getting the sweeps needed to win this. So I'm going to take Grundy by decision. I think this is going to be a pretty boring fight. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Lewis?
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be boring, but Mach 1's definitely on his way down.
Technical, I'll say.
Mach 1 will want to make it technical, and
Yeah.
I think Grundy's just going to completely shut that down. He's a Commonwealth wrestler. You know, he does the wrestling program at Team Calbon. He gets all the Olympians in with him. He is a phenomenal wrestler. He's probably the best British wrestler out there, to be honest with you, within like mixed martial arts at the moment. Visceral's, man, he's on it. Yeah, I think Mach 1 has a problem with his gas tank, but I can see him. I think Lerone Murphy as well took his soul. Another English fighter, you know, absolutely just need him in the face and just, you know, removed him. So Mach 1's neck attacks, I don't think. Yeah, I'm with you. I think Grundy can completely negate that. He's smart enough to negate that. I think he can grind out the decision. You got to. It's Grundy's last fight on his contract as well. So he's fighting for another contract. Yeah. So I think you're going to see a little extra motivation. The Lando Venata fight, good moments in that fight, and you know Venata, he's not bad. He's a very decent fighter as well. So
good, yeah.
And also, what was it, Evloev as well, which no one wants that. And he was competitive.
No, that was a hell of a fight. 7
minutes of real competitive before Evloev kind of just turned the tide and started dominating. Grundy is better than his record suggests in the UFC. Mach 1 is on the downside. I think Grundy, I think he could do it. He's got the home crowd advantage. No one likes Amir Khani. He's very hated.
I feel really good about this fight, actually, just based on the matchup for Grundy. I think this is the type of guy and the type of style and level that Grundy beats in the UFC, and not much higher than this, to be honest. I think this is about the ceiling for Grundy. Josh,
you might see Amir Khani doing some of those crazy flying knees and stuff that he likes to do just to kind of catch him. But sorry, Josh.
I think that could lead him right into being on the ground quicker.
Yeah.
Josh, go ahead and give us your thoughts, and then I'll be right back. I have another dog here for a pickup. Business is good. Be right back.
What's his name?
What?
What's the dog's name?
It's Turks right here. He's a regular.
Oh, Turks. Turks is back, dude.
Yeah, Turks is always here. He'll be back for tomorrow for the PFL breakdown as well. I'll be right back in 1 second. But give me your thoughts on this fight, Josh, and then 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Mike Grundy is – I feel like a lot of people like Mike Grundy. I feel like a lot of people are fans of Mike Grundy, and they expect him to be a little bit better than what he's shown. And like to beat a guy like Lando Venata, and what Aaron said, it's like his this is about not the max for him, but this is a fight he has to win. I feel like against Mach 1, because Mr. Finland, he's good. He always looks like not as big as his opponent in there. He looks like he could go down a weight class and have more success, like with submissions and grappling and stuff. He always looks like he's out muscled in almost every fight I've seen him in. And sometimes that's not the case because he's just more talented on the ground, and he's got some slick submission skills. But I think like with the Lerone Murphy fight, the last time we saw Mach 1, Mike Grundy, I think he's got the power too. Like Lando's an excellent striker. He's super. You got to watch out for so much stuff when you're fighting Lando because he could pull out just about anything on the feet, and he's well-rounded too. So that's a really good fight for Mike Grundy's resume. I would say it's split decision, really close. I think Lando won that fight, but this is a fight for Mike Grundy. I feel like he needs to put a little bit more pressure on himself, and he's like, dude, I got to finish a guy like Mach 1 Amir Khani if I'm going to go even a little bit higher in this sport, because Mach 1's finishable. We saw it with Lerone Murphy. I think Mike Grundy could KO him. I really do. Yeah. And if I was going to pick a finish, I would say Mike Grundy does get the knockout. Obviously, Mach 1's lost 4 of his last 5. He's been finished in 3 of those by punches. So he's prone to the finish, and Mike Grundy, hopefully, and with the crowd, with the London, like this is suited for Mike Grundy to come out and really talk to the crowd and get that finish, get his moment. I think this is like Mike Grundy's moment. This is his not coming out party, but this is not the peak of his career, but this is going to be like a statement victory for Mike Grundy. Gets it done with the finish.
Yeah, I think Mach 1 as well. I think he thinks his striking is better than it is. Like whenever he's actually against a very good striker, he always comes out. You know, he lost to Kamala Kirk. Like I think it was a real close fight, but Kamala Kirk has not impressed me, especially like last week with him as well.
And that's his debut too.
That was his debut, you know what I mean? Like he lost to Edson Barboza, that's fine. But then like getting beaten by Shane Burgos so convincingly as well, yeah, the guy's definitely on the decline, isn't he? But do you think Grundy can get another contract with a win here as well?
Yeah, I think like I know he's like boys with Darren Till, and yeah, Mike Grundy's a good fighter. He's just not. I don't think he's. I think people think he's better than he is, but that's just like people's opinions. I think Mike Grundy is a good fighter, and Macklon's obviously got a bit of a name, I think, in the sport. Like he's got some impressive finishes throughout his career, and he had some hype at one point, but this is like this just has Mike Grundy written all over it. Maybe a coming out party. Like definitely he's going to stick around in the UFC for sure.
Yeah, and real quick because the dog's not here yet, but yeah, Grundy minus 175. I think it's a good price on him, and yeah, I would bet it straight up. I think he wins it by decision too. Lewis, I'm gonna have you set up this next fight, which is the opener on the main card.
Real quick.
Yeah, everybody's seen Macklon's Tapology picture. It's just,
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the best Tapology pictures out there for sure. But next fight is the first fight on the main card. Jai Hebert taking on Mr. Ilya Topuria, who got more famous for talking to Patty this weekend. But yeah, go ahead and give us your thoughts on the fight and set it up for us, Lewis. And I will be right back. Just didn't want to leave you guys hanging talking about Mike Grundy and Macklon Americani for like 10 minutes. So be right back.
All right, man. Yeah, I mean, this one is been
Don't you
bugging
love
me.
this fight?
Yeah, I really do. I just feel really bad for Jai Herbert because since he's been phenomenal in Cage Warriors and knocking out people left, right, and center. He fights at Team Renegade with like Aiden Lee, Leon Edwards. Arnold Allen's been training there this camp as well, so they've been training together. Joins the UFC. Sorry?
He's just been so unlucky. I feel like he's a really good fighter.
The Trinaldo fight is the famous Dan Hardy stop the fight. Herb was an idiot again. Trinaldo, he was getting, it was a very competitive fight, but to get Trinaldo in your debut is ridiculously tough. And then to get Moicano straight after, do they not like him? They don't like Jai Herbert very much. And then just came out the gates and smashed Comerworthy to bits, made him look completely amateur. Showed his hand speed, showed his power, showed how long he is for the weight class, shows how good he uses range, how he absolutely fires his right hand like a piston. You just can't even see it coming, hides it well as well. But getting another fight in the UFC and he's fighting Topuria, who to me is the future of the division. What he did to Damon Jackson and Ryan Hall, and he's 9-0 and 10-0 at that point. He's this scary individual, man. He really is. He's got a slick ground game, but he also has complete knockout power. He's stepping up in weight, which is the worry for me because Jai is a big guy for lightweight as well. Ilya Topuria is not. He's a large featherweight, but he's still a featherweight. He's not short. Short. And I don't want to be called bias, but I do think there is a massive chance Herbert can absolutely piece him up and knock him out. I think whoever's going to lose is going to get finished. I think it's got KO written all over it. I think they're both going to stand in the pocket and absolutely fire pistons at each other with their giant kettlebell hands for the weight class. But if it's going for a straight pick 'em with firing weapons at each other, I would pick Jai all day because the amount of knockouts he's got from doing exactly that. His whole Cage Warriors days was just standing in the pocket and smashing people, and he was always the better boxer, always better head movement. He got caught against Trinaldo, but Moicano just completely showed levels, and that's fine. But to get those guys on your debut and second fight is just so harsh. Comerworthy, good opponent, smashed him to bits. Topuria showed Ryan Hall that there's levels as well. I ain't afraid of your ground game, and just his finish was very unorthodox and very creative. And that's a worry. Jai's very straightforward kickboxer. Topuria is creative. He's got everything. And whoever wins, massive congrats. But if Topuria loses, I still think he's the future of this division, or featherweight at least.
Yeah, he'll just be a featherweight for, I think, a lot longer.
Do you feel Herbert has power? Yeah, Visceral, he's definitely got power, mate. 100% got power. He KOs people for fun, and he's just had a rough ride in the UFC.
So you see them as straight up trading, though. You don't see Topuria going to the ground.
I can see Topuria going to the ground when he gets caught. That's
but
it. But I think the size advantage I think that is a big factor in this fight. I think the size does matter with Topuria going up in weight.
Yeah, I like the thing I'm
And
worried
he's a late
about.
step-in, isn't he? He's a late step-in. Mike Davis was the original, wasn't he?
They both have power.
Yeah, definitely both got power.
Yeah, I think they both have power. I'd be a little bit worried about.
What do you think about Mike Davis saying he didn't want to come take this fight because of I understand it, but the taxes stuff, it's we haven't seen Mike Davis in a long time, and I think a lot of people are itching to watch him fight. I mean, we get Ilia Topuria versus Jai Herbert, but I mean, I don't blame Mike Davis, but I wish he would have taken this fight. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely seems to be a financial reason he didn't want to take it, which is too bad for sure after him coming off an injury. I get a little bit nervous when I hear the prediction of Topuria just willing to stand and trade with him, just because I do think that Jai is going to have, an 8-inch reach advantage in this fight? I believe it is.
I don't see him holding Jai Herbert down.
Interesting. Okay.
I really don't.
Yeah, I do. I think that he's going to get him down, and I think he's going to keep him down there. Maybe work the ground and pound, work the strikes there, but I think that he's getting Jai Herbert to the ground within the first minute of this fight. And I think he's keeping him there, working it. I do not see him standing and trading. I think that would be a horrible error. And if that happens, Jai Herbert, I don't know why I keep wanting to call him Hebert. Sorry. Jai Herbert will get this done if it's on the feet. But I think Topuria gets him down within the first 45, 50 seconds. I really do. If he doesn't, I get nervous because I think that power-wise, Topuria has the advantage, but there's a huge reach advantage for Jai Herbert.
You think he's got a power advantage over Jai as well?
I think he's got the power, pure power, yes.
Really?
But I don't think – but in order for him to achieve it and get there, he has to get so much further in than where Jai Herbert can strike him from.
Jai uses his reach very well. Yeah.
Yeah, he uses it well until he doesn't, like the Trinaldo fight.
I think the fight is closer than people suggest.
Yeah, it's way closer. Right now, you're seeing Ilia Topuria as a minus 525 favorite. Right now, the only bet is
525.
Minus 525. Right now, the only bet to make is passing or on Jai Herbert, because I do think Jai Herbert has a puncher's chance. 550, I'm seeing him at on some sites.
I think he's got more than a puncher's chance as well. He's technically better on the feet, but I mean, Topuria should be the favorite. 100% should be the favorite. He's got a lot more.
Minus 525 is massive.
Mental. That's mental.
Yeah, I mean, Jai Herbert, he's one of the first guys I think I really watched and knew from Cage Warriors coming into the UFC. I was so excited for him to get that step up. You fight Trinaldo in your debut, fuck that. I would hate to fight Francisco Trinaldo or even be anywhere near that guy because he's just vicious, dangerous. Jai Herbert's been super unlucky to this point. This could be the fight that turns the tide for his UFC career. This could be the one that really gets his name, starts his hype, because I think he deserves some hype. He's actually a really talented guy, a really talented fighter. I've had Ilia Topuria on a pedestal for so long as a prospect, the future, everything you said, Lewis. I think he is the future, maybe of the 45 division, maybe not lightweight. And that's what scares you a little bit is why are you coming up to 55 for this short notice fight against Jai Herbert? This is just, it has danger written all over it for Topuria in your unblemished record. But with him being on that pedestal, I think he's good enough to do anything he wants. And I think this is he can do what he wants against Jai Herbert. And if he gets it done, he deserves some credit too. Like you said, Lewis, whoever wins this fight, good,
huge win.
Good shit.
Yeah, I would side if there was no money involved, I would say Topuria is going to win.
Yeah, my official pick is Topuria.
Man, I want Jai Herbert to knock him out.
My official pick is Topuria by submission, to be honest with you. I really think that's what he does in this fight. Ground and pound possible, but I do see him getting it finished here.
What happens if Topuria cannot get him down?
Then I all of a sudden get very nervous. I get very nervous. I don't think he can win a pure stand-up fight against Jai Herbert.
No, neither do I. Jai was winning that Trinaldo fight with no consequence until he just got caught. So
he got ruined at the end of that fight, though. He took unnecessary damage, obviously, but
he was out from the first punch. Yeah, and he took, I think it was 11 shots directly.
And Kama Worthy is not in the UFC anymore, so.
No, Kama Worthy is not anywhere near this fight. Lewis, I'm going to have you set us up for this next one. This is a fight that you did a video on your channel recently, and I'm going to have you go ahead and tee this one up. Go ahead and tee us up for Miss Molly McCann and Luana Carolina.
I've got skill.
Can you do the scouse? So Molly's going to hype the crowd up so much in this, but this is one of the fights that I can't be biased towards because I'm a little fearful for Molly here. She struggles with long rangey fighters, and that is exactly what Luana can do. She is a complete box standard Muay Thai striker, has a very high guard, has beautiful body kicks, especially a front body kick, chops legs very easily, moves well, uses the reach, and when you get in close, she will clinch you, create the space again, push away, and get back to range. Molly has to get inside that range to land those devastating hooks that we saw her land against Kim. That's the only thing, and against Cachoeira as well. If you remember that fight where she had like a giant swollen eyeball, like she's been, I don't know, a peach attached to her face. But Molly definitely has all the opportunities to win this fight. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for her to get inside that range every single second of every single round and clip her hard enough to cause some proper fear in Luana's head right there, because all she has to do is stay on her bike and do what she does best. What she did to Godinez, rinse and repeat. And I think she beats a very good name in Molly McCann. I think Molly's screaming and antics won't help her in this, and I love Molly to bits, but I do think the meatball's actually going to get beaten. And on my video, I did say Molly to win, but I have been back and forth, and I think Luana, I can smell upset here, and I think Luana is going to be one of the ones that does cause an upset, and I think it's going to be a 30-27 or 29-28 Luana kind of thing. Yeah,
Luana showed. Oh, go ahead, Josh. No,
I was going to say it's an upset that doesn't feel like an upset. Luana's longer.
Only to the audience, sorry. Only to the crowd. They're going to be all for Molly, obviously. Yeah, sorry.
Not only to the crowd, currently the odds.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which I was shocked at. Josh, did you want to go into your thoughts?
I agree with everything Lewis said. Like, Luana, the length is too much. I don't know if Molly's going to be able to get off her big power shots against Luana. But if she does, then it's going to be a fucking awesome crowd moment for Molly McCann, and the place is going to be going absolutely crazy. But I just hope this doesn't go to a decision, or I hope it's a really good fight. But if I'm picking, then it's Luana for sure.
Yeah,
and you said it as well, Aaron, about the wrestling in my comments.
Yeah, it all comes down to if Molly's going to be able to get the wrestling working or not. That's actually how Molly.
Game, is it?
It's never her game, yet each one of her wins, it's been her game. So when she gets a takedown, she wins. When she gets taken, other than Kim, which was an extremely close fight, and I rate Luana Carolina much higher than Ji Young Kim. Ji Young Kim is just, I don't know. Even though she did win that fight against Cachoeira. The thing is that, I like Luana here. I think this is going to be one of our first unanimous underdogs ever since we've started breaking down fights together. Pretty sure. Because Luana is a two-time Brazilian Muay Thai champion. And so she's going to be the more diverse, longer, stronger striker here. Molly McCann's going to get frustrated in this fight. She's going to be punching a lot of air, chasing a target that's not there. 2 of 15 takedowns Lupita Godinez had against her, and Lupita is a better wrestler than Molly McCann. I don't care if Lupita's a 115er. She's a better wrestler than Molly McCann. I think that Luana Carolina is getting better with each fight. She got caught in a weird leg lock against Lipsky that it's like, okay, that was nasty. Molly McCann doesn't have any level of that jiu-jitsu, so we're good there. I think Luana wins a rinse and repeat decision, very similar to the Godinez fight. I like
and if Molly does close that gap as well, then come the elbows over the top.
Yeah, or the clinch, I think, could be a big factor.
Yeah, just to get that range separation.
I got Luana Carolina plus 120. She's now down to a plus 105. It's probably going to be close to about where the odds stay. I think that money will keep coming in on Molly, but Molly's got to get the takedowns in this fight. And, when that's what you're banking on, it's tough to make her the favorite, in my opinion. So apologize for disappearing off the screen a couple times. Got a puppy here who we can hear in the background. But we are to the fourth from the top here, return of the Icelandic Ninja. That's what I'm calling him, at least.
Keeps getting better.
This is one of these cards where it does keep getting better. Sometimes the UFC, it's like, oh, God, the main card's here, and it's like, I missed the prelims. This is one where it does build up pretty well, even though some of the prelims are great. Gunnar Nelson taking on Takashi Sato. This is a pretty interesting matchup. Sato is 16-4 now, fighting out of Sanford MMA, which I think is a great camp for him to be fighting out of. I honestly, that's probably one of my favorite camps in the sport right now. Did lose back in November of 2020. He's been off since then. So he's been off for a while. It's kind of surprised me. I felt like I saw Sato more recently than I did, but got submitted by Miguel Baeza. That's not good. Losing to Baeza is one thing. Getting submitted by him is a whole nother thing. Not exactly what you want to be seeing, an arm triangle finish at that. Before that, had the very impressive knockout victory of Jason Witt. That was a fight where I picked Jason Witt to take down Sato, eventually get the arm triangle in and submit him, but he got knocked out in 48 seconds. So
he did take that fight on like.
Oh no, I know. No, I know, but it is the problem with Jason Witt. When he gets punched in the jaw, he tends to go down. But when he avoids getting punched in the jaw, man, he can look amazing. So very tough guy for me to break down, in all honesty. I've been wrong and right on Jason Witt. But for that, Bilal Muhammad took him down, wore him out, and eventually used the grappling to get the submission. I think it's pretty obvious here what Gunnar needs to do. I think that he can, sometimes fall a little bit too in love with his striking, and it gets a little lackadaisical. I could see Sato landing one of those missile straight rights on him, or a head kick when he's kind of just being a little bit too comfortable with that karate style stance and knocking out Gunnar. But I honestly think that Gunnar is a smart fighter. He's been off for quite a while. I think he's coming back for a reason. He seems to be in very good shape for this one. And a guy like Sato, I think he just knows what he needs to do in this fight to get to where he wins. So I think Gunnar messes with the striking a little bit, but looks to wrestle him, and eventually second or third round submission for Gunnar Nelson. Josh, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, this one's tough. It's like Gunnar Nelson, haven't seen him in a while. Takashi Sato, haven't seen him in a while. But
very true.
Tough. If it goes to the ground, then Gunnar Nelson has a clear advantage. Sato, it's going to be tough if he's on his back to get up from Gunnar Nelson. I do like Sato in this fight, though. I think he's going to show that Gunnar Nelson, you haven't been in the cage in a while. Takashi Sato's got that right hand. He's going to surprise him on the feet. And I think he could, and it's hard to say he can get him out of there, but I think he can, maybe avoid the takedown until like round 3, but he's done enough in round 1 and round 2 to get a decision. So I think he's going to start really strong in this fight. And then Gunnar's going to start to get his feet, a little bit wet. And obviously, like there's some fighters, there's no thing as ring rust. And then some fighters, there is such thing as ring rust. It's just it's a weird thing. For Gunnar Nelson, I don't think it'll be a huge factor, but I do think it'll take him a while to like get going, and it'll be around round 3 where he's able to take Takashi Sato down. But at that point, it'll be too late. I like Sato.
Wow, that's shocking. We got Sato and Abdurakimov card right here for Josh Byers.
I like it's a valid argument though, which I
I appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, I think two southpaws. Two traditional standing karate stance guys as well. They're very mirror matching on the feet, and I think Gunnar Nelson's going to strangle him. He's just better everywhere. I think Gunnar's got a better darting blitz kind of attack to him. He's a better striker than people give him credit for. He was standing and trading with Leon Edwards for a long time before he got caught with that hard elbow, and Leon wanted to show that he could trade in grappling with Gunnar, and he did for the majority until he got mounted for the last 10 seconds of a round. But absolutely smashing Brandon Thatch and like Alan Joban and people like that. Alex Oliveira, Sato is at that level. He's that guy.
Yeah. No, you're right. Brandon Thatch was a guy back in the day. We've talked about this.
Yeah, man. And he's only losing to Leon Edwards like Burns, Ponzinibbio.
Yeah.
It's Gunnar Nelson.
No, Sato is not any of those three. Sato's not any of those three.
No, he's not. He's nothing special. He has a very padded record from Japan.
Yep.
And he drops his hand a lot, his right hand, and Bilal Muhammad ragdolled him. But the only thing I will say, Sato's got good trips on his own, but if he goes on top of Gunnar will sweep him within seconds.
There's no way Sato attempts to take. Sato will not. The only thing Sato's doing when they clinch is trying to disengage. Yeah. He's not trying to take him down.
Even though I made amazing arguments, I think, for Nathaniel Wood and Mokaev, Nelson is my most confident pick of the night.
Yeah, he's definitely up there for me. This just seems like the only thing we're questioning is that unknown of how he looks after 3 years off, which is like I can't put that into the, he's still only 33 years old.
He looks great shape-wise. Videos I've seen of him, pictures, all the media. He talks.
Right. But like I can't know how he's going to feel after 3 years, and that, like I can't know that.
Exactly. So, but Sato's not looked good in 3 years, so.
Yeah, and Sato hasn't fought since 2020 either. Like neither one of these guys has fought in a while. Gunnar Nelson, minus 400 favorite, plus 300 on Sato. A little bit steep, just a little bit. I think like Gunnar should be about 3 or so. But
there's one more point as well. Sato's been training with
Burns. Sato's been training with Burns. Maybe he got a little insight on Gunnar Nelson.
Yeah, Gunny. What are you gonna say, Lewis?
Sorry, Sato did take Saunders as well on 2 weeks' notice. Because originally it was meant to be Claudio Silva, which would have been just a grapple fest.
Yeah, with short notice after several years off, I think is pretty dangerous.
You're gonna get strangled.
Yeah, and against a guy like Gunnar Nelson, I like Gunnar, and he is one of my more confident picks on the card as well. I would say Gunnar Nelson and Mike Grundy are 2 of my more confident picks, to be honest. I really like Grundy against Makwan. I'll be shocked if he doesn't come through in that one. But moving on to the next one, is this the people's main event here? I don't know. We got Patty the Baddie, water bottle boy, hand sanitizer, whatever it was, taking on Rodrigo Cazula Vargas. Oh, man. Cazula Vargas, he's had a very entertaining start to his UFC career. I'm going to call it 2-1, even though he's 1-1 from a technical perspective. The Brock Weaver fight, he was winning that fight. He was going to finish it. That was a Brock Weaver who took, I won't say the easy way out. It was a hard knee. It was a much harder knee than the Jan knee, but still took a way out in a fight I think that he saw he was getting kind of taken over in. So Vargas, he's had some moments of kind of brilliance inside the octagon. He's 36 years old, fighting on Mexican Pride Gym here. First fight over in England. Did beat Zurong in his last fight. And Zurong, I don't know how good he is yet, honestly. We've got a lot of promises about Zurong. We've got a lot of padded wins with Zurong, but so far in the UFC, he just looks wrong. Sorry. But Vargas did what he needed to in that fight. It was a huge upset. Vargas in all 3 of his fights so far has been brought in as a sacrificial lamb. He agreed to be the sacrificial lamb in one of those fights against Alex De Silva. But even in that fight, it was a competitive fight, and Alex De Silva proved to kind of not be the goods since then. And then Brock Weaver, really competitive fight. The illegal knee, yes, it was illegal, but still, he was on his way to finishing Brock Weaver, which I get. It's Brock Weaver. We're not going to give him too many flowers for that. And then Zurong, Vargas, he's going to come. He's going to show up to a fight for sure. But I did not like how he looked facing off with Patty today. I didn't like how he was in the media. He seems to be a little bit shocked by this moment. But maybe he comes in back against the wall and catches him, as we say. But Patty's gonna just take him down and choke him out, right?
He's gonna take it wherever he damn wants to. He will run through Vargas. If Vargas' best shot to me, he's a very inactive striker to me. He's got heavy hands, very good right hook, and Paddy does drop his hands. It's the only kind of hole in Paddy's game at the moment where he gets reckless. He does drop his hands and he likes getting into a firefight when he doesn't necessarily need to be in one.
Yep, like with Luigi.
Exactly. He got clipped once, and it kind of changed the whole perspective on the fight and kind of blemished the win in a way. Even though he got the knockout.
Right.
And Luigi's a far better mixed martial artist to me than Vargas.
I agree.
But Vargas is not going to know what's hit him. If you know, in Cage Warriors at the Echo Arena in Liverpool, I think it's like 12,000 people. This is for Cage Warriors, where it's just about sold out for 4,000 in London on Friday. He used to sell out 12,000 on his own there. The whole place is bumping for this guy. There is not another individual in a country that has as many fans or hype, love or hate towards him and want to see him win or lose than Paddy Pimblett. This is his third. The UFC have been begging for him to come because of how much he does this. Yeah, Justin's with it. If he wants to trade with Paddy, Paddy's going to KO him. If he wants to grapple with Paddy, Paddy's going to strangle him. If Vargas wins this, I would be absolutely shocked. This would be the biggest upset. This would be Julio. So
this is more competent than Gunner for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's got to be, hasn't it?
Just based on combination of the level of opponent. Yeah,
he's going to run through him. Yeah. It's a gimme fight for Paddy.
Yeah, no, I agree. Josh, do you have anything to add to the Paddy? Are you also going with Kazula Vargas with your Abdurakimov and Takashi Sato? You want to be the only person on the internet picking those three? Because you would be. I think you'd be the only person in the world if you put that parlay in. If you put in that parlay of Vargas, Sato, and Abdurakimov, that's got to be like plus 2,000.
Yeah, dude. No, I'm not picking Kazula Vargas. That's for sure. It doesn't have anything to do with like skill or anything. It's that I really want Paddy Pimblett to win this fight because I like the hype around him. I like what he could potentially bring to UK MMA and also just the UFC in general. I think he could be a huge star. He's like the only fighter that's signed with Barstool. I don't love the things he said about Georgia and stuff like that, but I mean, I'm a fan of this guy, and if he keeps finishing people, then like who knows what could happen with Paddy. I want him to do well, and I want him to beat Kazula Vargas. And matchup wise, he waited until he was ready to come to the UFC. So Paddy is ready, and I think he can handle just about any pressure you give him. He can handle just about any trash talk you give him. The guy is.
Vargas isn't saying a word. He's a church mouse.
No, I gotta go with Paddy here. I like.
He's not going to know what's hitting with the trash talk.
Yeah, I'll give Vargas credit. He clearly doesn't say no to a fight in the UFC. All three, like he will take on anybody. And I mean, I get it. Brock Weaver sizzled out, but that was what was perceived as a dangerous fight when he took it with Brock Weaver, and he really kind of, I get it. You don't look. It was supposed to be Vargas getting embarrassed in there. That's what all three of his matchups so far, and now 4. Have been with Vargas, with the UFC intending on embarrassing him, which is kind of crazy. Like you don't see that.
Paddy's trash talk is weird. It's like, what are you gonna do if a guy just calls you a worm? You're like, what?
Or lizard.
Paddy is a minus. Paddy the laddie minus 500 favorite. Plus
so low.
Plus 360 on Kazula Vargas. Kazula Vargas, I'm gonna say it, 2-1 in the UFC, man. 2-1. Come on, like he's got no shot here. You're right. Minus 500. I would put Paddy in most of my parlays.
He has a puncher's chance, and that's not good enough for any form of bet.
Yeah, everybody has a puncher's chance. I'm pretty sure everybody's allowed to punch who's in there, including the 2 in our co-main event of the evening. Arnold Allen taking on Dan Hooker. Really, really good fight here, and going to tell us a lot about both these fighters. Arnold Allen been on that slow descent as a prospect up to be a little quicker. If he fought a little more often, fights once a year. Coming off of a really impressive win over Sadiq Youssef, though. We saw Youssef rebound this past weekend over Caceres, looking really good. But this is definitely the most experienced opponent, highest level opponent Allen has faced to date. And Dan Hooker, who's making his return to 145. Definitely one of my concerns right away. I don't like when guys go up and down in weight, and then because of not having great success, they end up going back down in weight later in their career. Dan Hooker claimed this has always been the plan. He's like, oh, it's always been the plan. And really, my 155 run went better than I expected it to go. And, I'm just like, he didn't really answer the questions honestly as to why he was going back down to 145, I think. And that's kind of one of my concerns here. Does a lot of traveling, a lot of quarantining, and a lot of cutting as part of his kind of prep because he's coming from New Zealand. And I just think it's taken away from him during this era. I get he's been facing a really high level of opponent also, but it's taken an edge off him. And now he's taking another 10 pounds off. I just think we're going to be seeing a shell of Dan Hooker in there. And I think that we could potentially be seeing the best Arnold Allen this Saturday that we've seen. He's been showing a lot of steady progress with his career. My big concern with Arnold Allen is how the second 7.5 minutes look compared to the first 7.5 minutes, because I do think he can establish a pretty big lead in those first round to round and a half. But I kind of wonder as if Dan Hooker doesn't kind of relent and you start to kind of see the Dan Hooker of old start to really kind of lean in or, plan on some of these strikes, start to, work the takedown defense a little bit, and Arnold Allen starts to get tired. I could see a late finish for Dan Hooker or closing out the fight impressively and getting a decision win here, even in England. I think it's going to be a really close fight, and I just wish Arnold Allen was a little more active. I think this is a pretty huge step up, and I think I originally was on Arnold Allen. I've gone over to Hooker. I think I'm going to go with Arnold Allen, but it's also I'm really concerned here. I think if Hooker makes a smooth cut here, could look really strong and kind of revitalize himself at 145, even though in general this is not a move I'm a fan of going down in weight after being comfortable at weight. But I don't know. When I saw them sitting across from each other, Arnold Allen is much smaller than Dan Hooker, and I do think Dan Hooker can make the weight, but we'll see. It's been, 5 years since Dan Hooker made 145, so what are your thoughts on this fight, Josh? And then over to you, Lewis. I've got another dog I'll be right back.
This is such a close and really good fight. I obviously I'm a fan of Dan Hooker. Arnold Allen has a huge, growing fan base in the sport. A lot of people are really high on him, as they should be, because he's proven it. 8-fight win streak. And I've bet in the past on guys that I'm like, he's gonna come into this fight and he's gonna look bad. And they always come and look the best they've ever had. And sometimes now my perspective is like, if I'm betting on a fight, I'm expecting them both to come out and look the best they've ever had, or look how they should, instead of betting on a guy to like look bad essentially. And Dan Hooker, I don't think has ever really looked bad. In Arnold Allen, we don't see him too much. I'm a fan of Arnold Allen. Like Visceral said, Dan Hooker has the level of competition. I think of the Dustin Poirier fight and how close that was against a guy that's, been at the top of the UFC, like the whole organization, for a very long time. But going down to 145, cutting the 10 pounds, Arnold Allen, I think, is going to look the best we've ever seen him. I think it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be that statement win. Sadiq Youssef is so dangerous. And I expected him to fully finish Alex Caceres last week, so that concerns me a little bit. But Arnold Allen seems to do what he needs to do in every fight, and enough to win essentially. And Dan Hooker, I don't know if they're on the feet, it's going to be close, but I think Arnold Allen's going to have a little bit more volume and just kind of outpoint him barely to get a decision win. It's a really close fight, close decision. I could see it, maybe a finish. I don't really see the finish in this fight, but with that, Lewis, like I know you got a breakdown on this fight for sure.
Yeah, man. It is close, this fight. I really do believe it is. The weight cut, I don't care what Dan Hooker says, whether it's going well or not. He looks gaunt. He looks skinny. Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to have a compromised chin and body from that. I think he's been in some absolute brilliant fights with people like Felder and Poirier in the top of the tree. But how much damage has he taken in those fights? And then cutting weight again when it hasn't gone quite his way. way, that to me, it smells a little bit desperate. And you're fighting Arnold Allen, who does fight once a year. He's very intelligent in how he's grown in the sport. When he joined the UFC, he said it himself, he was not ready for the UFC, which is why he didn't take as many fights as he was contractually obliged to at the time. He's grinded out the decisions, as you say, Josh, just enough to win, convincingly enough to win. Like, it's never like, oh, I don't think he quite won. It's always, yeah, Arnold won. But what's impressive to me is he takes no damage, none. He's an absolute physical specimen. His dad was on steroids when he got his mum pregnant, so that's how you get that physique. And
Arnold admitted that.
Yeah,
that's Arnold's own admitting.
His brother's a professional weightlifter. His dad is still ridiculous
on steroids.
And yeah, for sure. And the next
his dad is still on
well.
steroids. Yeah.
So you better believe Arnold Allen is going to have the grip strength, the strength advantage over Dan Hooker here, and I would not be surprised if you see him grapple vest him. I think that reach is a really dangerous thing for Dan Hooker here. I think that's the only clear advantage he has in this fight. I think the striking is closer than you think. Arnold Allen boxed the shit out of Gilbert Melendez, who is a very, very dangerous boxer. I know it's at the end of Melendez's career.
Jesus Christ, man. Well, this might be the end of Dan Hooker's career. But
Arnold Allen literally didn't get touched in that fight and pieced him up from start to finish, no problem. The only thing missing was the finish.
Right.
I can see finishes happen in this. I can see great neck attacks like against Mads Burnell, where he came in. Arnold Allen was sick as a dog the day of that fight, and he still managed to eke out a front choke. There's a lot of winning opportunities here for Allen, and there's only one for Hooker for me. I don't see him grabbing Arnold's neck. Like, he's the hangman because of his guillotine days, but he hasn't pulled the guillotine off for a submission in a long time. He likes to stand and trade, and I think there's way more opportunities for Arnold Allen to win this fight. But Dan Hooker is not to be underestimated. I think the weight cut, the range is going to play a massive factor. But I like Arnold Allen here. I could see a late finish. I don't see the cardio being an issue, like you said, Aaron, before. I think every time you see Arnold Allen, he's improved drastically, and he looked phenomenal against Sadiq Youssef. He was meant to be fighting Josh Emmett and Jeremy Stevens. Jeremy obviously been cut, but Josh Emmett would have been a great fight for him. The only thing that worries me is whoever wins this fight next is going to get someone like Ortega or Yair Rodriguez or Koreans. You know what I mean? This is the Shark Tank now. And I think Arnold's ready for that step. And I think he has more than enough tools to beat Dan Hooker. But it is a close fight.
Did Hooker take this on short notice?
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
No, this is in the odds, just real quick, minus 120 for Arnold Allen, plus 100 on Dan Hooker.
I would favor an Arnold decision. But I would not be shocked at all if Dan Hooker wins this fight at all. Yep. But I got to back Arnold Allen.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm confident on Arnold Allen.
I like Arnold Allen in the spot too. Minus 120, I think, is a good price. You don't have to overextend yourself. Lewis,
heads up as well. He has been training with Jai Herbert for the whole camp, and that's why I think wrestling, because Jai's been working on his wrestling for obviously 2 years.
That's a good.
So it could help both guys in that scenario.
Fair enough. Go ahead and just set us up for the main event here, Lewis. I have one more dog that's getting picked up right now. It's tough when it's from the 4 to 6 hours because this is when people are out of work. So business is good, but go ahead and lead us into the main event. I'll be right back. Apologize for all the in and outs today.
That's right. I'll just start with Tom then, and then I'll let you talk about Volkov, Josh.
Okay.
I know I'll rant on for too long otherwise, and I'm sure people don't want to hear me just being so super biased. But yeah, Tom Aspinall's the new breed, isn't he? I compare him to Cyril Gahn with jiu-jitsu. His bread and butter is jiu-jitsu. His dad runs the jiu-jitsu academy at Team Cowbon, and Tom's been doing it since he was a child. He was the sparring partner of Tyson Fury a few years back. That's how he developed his boxing skills, his speed, his mentality as well, which is the most important thing. He was more than willing to take more fights in regional scene before getting a call to the UFC. Just no one, he couldn't get anyone. The UFC came calling. He's like, okay, let's take this slow. And every time you shove someone in with him, he just gets him out within a couple minutes. And it's other than Orlovsky, who again didn't touch Tom. Tom realized he had a concrete head, couldn't finish him with a knockout. So he went, I'll just charge him. Shoved him against the cage and just grabbed him like a schoolyard bully by the neck and just choked him real quick. It's a very fast tap. To knock Sergey Spivak out with like that easily, and Alan Bordeaux, I mean, he's not very good, and neither is Jake Collier to me. Jack Collier is a fat middleweight. He's just gained 70 pounds, but
very true.
It's just to absolutely dismantle these guys within a minute. When he came back off his long layoff, he fought a guy called Sofian Bukachu in Cage Warriors and just checked his leg kick. So it's these sort of fights that worry. Yeah, it's brutal. It's one of those. Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman, Anderson, Chris Weidman scenarios. But the only thing I think Tom has a disadvantage here is experience, and that's at major levels. Volkov has been around for a millennia, Bellator champ. He's only lost to the greatest of the great in essentially the title contenders in the UFC, and that's the only thing I have against Tom in this is we don't know how good he is because he hasn't been tested. But that's also positive. Every time you shove someone in there, it's like, okay, go get another one because he's pieced him up too quickly. And that just shows his level as well. He's definitely the next generation. I rate him as high as Cyril Gane has been rated. I think Tom and Cyril are going to be at the top of this division for the next 5 to 10 years. I really do. But Volkov is... I see Tom winning that fight, for God's sake. Like, I really do. I think Tom is as good as they get.
Yeah,
but
I do too.
Volkov is more dangerous to me than a Derek Lewis fight, than a Curtis Blades fight for Tom.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
Of that range.
And because of the pace. That's the other thing.
The only argument I would say to myself, though, playing devil's advocate to myself, is Volkov doesn't laterally move or dart in and out. He stands there and he uses the range. He uses it better than Struve, but he's still not amazing with the range, which is mad with all these long guys. Tom is the fastest heavyweight I've ever seen for a very, very long time, at least. And he can easily dart in and out, clip him, get back out of range before he can even piece him out. Similar to Cyril Gane, there's a blueprint to not even get touched against Volkov.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. What's the longest Aspinall's gone?
Arlovsky.
Second round?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was. I did say that. I did say that's the experience.
And the other thing is that originally Aspinall and his team were set up to take on Shamia Abdurakimov. Then all of a sudden they said, wait, let's switch it around here. Let's have him in main event this because we don't have a main event to sell, and let's force him into 5 rounds. I would have liked to see him go against somebody like an Abdurakimov for 5 rounds first, or at least prepare for 5. Going against Volkov, most likely, if
that wouldn't have been for 5 rounds, that would have been for 3. They were thinking Taryn Till was going to headline, but he's still out with his ACL repair.
Here's my point remains that I would have wanted to see. Volkov is one of the hardest guys you can test yourself for the first time at 5 rounds against. So if he does pass this test, that's amazing. Like, it really does put him at that level that Lewis is speaking of. That's just my hesitation in this fight. Is I get very nervous what this fight starts to look at after that first or second round, because even in the first round against Arlovsky, he was putting those strikes on Arlovsky to finish him with those strikes. When they didn't finish, you started to see a little bit of heavier breathing out of Aspinall. And I get he came in, got the freight train takedown, and like that, whatever rear naked choke.
That to me just showed the intelligence. Right,
I agree, but
let's choke him. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if he can just rely on intelligence against Volkov, like in that situation. I think he was facing a guy in Arlovsky towards the end of his career, a guy who, once Arlovsky's caught, he's like, you got me. Like, it was like a single tap and like, good, good on you. Like, I don't think that can happen against Volkov. I don't think Volkov is at that stage of his career where he's going to be like, you caught me, single tap. Like, the thing I'm nervous about is how this fight looks if it goes beyond the 2 rounds. How it starts to look if Volkov does use the range to the effectiveness he's used at points in his career. Most of the time, no, it's not to the point it should be. I agree.
Yeah.
Those are my concerns. And it's I get the speed of Aspinall in the first 10 minutes. How does it look as the fight goes on? How does it look? There's a lot of unknowns here. And I do think Volkov is the hardest guy in the division aside from the top 2 or 3 that you can test for a first time at 5 rounds.
Ultimate gatekeeper, isn't he, Volkov?
Yeah, and if he wins this fight, he just solidifies that. I mean, he really solidifies that. And if he loses this fight, he still is that. So it's I mean, it's a really originally I was like Aspinall is going to come in here and decimate him. And we'll see if we see that, man, then then again, like part of my breakdowns get to be with Aspinall. We haven't seen him tested. We had so good. Like I'm holding his successes
if he runs through
against him.
Volkov, if he runs through Volkov like he has Jake
Title
Collier,
shot.
Spivak.
Title
I mean, you could argue that, but what I was going to say is I don't think we need to see him with a what if experience.
No,
These
I mean,
guys are not his level, and that's like Cyril Gane,
and
which
I think
is so quick, and he decimated Volkov with speed. Aspinall is arguably quicker than Cyril Gane. He just has heavier hands. Cyril,
at the end of the day, I'm going to take Aspinall to get the finish in this fight. I'm going to say it's going to be his longest fight of his career. I'm going to say it's a 3rd round finish for me. I do think he's able to prove a little bit of these kind of maybe doubts that I have about some of his cardio, some of his ability
I hope so.
to come back from some adversity. I want to see some of these what if scenarios, and it's not his fault he hasn't been in them. If he avoids them in this fight too, good on him. Or if those what ifs become uh-ohs, then we know. And Volkov is going to be the type of fighter who can expose that. There is definitely a fight that I see in my head where Volkov takes a 50, 45, 49, 46 type of decision, and we just see the levels here. But I am going to take Aspinall here. I have trouble, seeing him not be able to use that speed and power and eventually getting the finish. So I got Aspinall.
What about you? What about you, though, Josh? Sorry, I talk so much, mate.
No, you're good. It's like it's tough. The only thing I don't love about Tom Aspinall is he'll openly say, "I'm taking it slow. I'm not really rushing anything. I don't really want to fight this guy," or he may not say that exactly, but Volkov you could see him like not being okay with losing this fight because he's like, you know what, I wasn't ready. I told you guys that. But I mean, if he does,
you think that's a bad thing or a good thing?
It's just something that I don't really love hearing from like a guy that should be, and you can hype yourself up, or I think he's just being honest with himself, and I appreciate that. It's just,
I think that's a sign. To me, that's a sign of confidence.
Yeah,
he's willing to say that out loud and not just say, "Let's go." Like, if it's too soon, we'll find out.
A sign in like the 3rd or 4th round, Volkov's piecing you up. It's like, you know what? I lost here. I'm gonna pack it in because
good point. Obviously, that's a fair point.
And I could kind of see that happening, but with the resume, when you got a guy that runs through people like round 1, round 2, round 3, or like they're super good. I think rounds 1 through 3, Aspinall is capable of getting the finish. If it goes to round 4, round 5, then Volkov is probably doing a little bit more than Aspinall on the feet. But I do think this could be taken to the ground by Aspinall, and I think he could do very well on the ground with Volkov.
I would love to see that.
It's tough that we're all on the dog, but if I'm picking someone, it's Tom Aspinall for sure. It's just
it's hard for me to think that Aspinall can keep the pace he does 4-5 rounds. So I agree with that completely. That the 4-5, we've seen Volkov, he doesn't turn up the pressure. He just maintains a steady rhythm for pretty much 25 minutes. And I literally see Tom first rounding him. I really do. Wow. I rate Tom that high.
Has anybody finished?
I think I always say he's going to KO him like Derek Lewis did, but in the first
that would be awesome.
Volkov. I don't think anybody's done that to Volkov, so that'd be a statement.
Not since Bellator, I think.
Vitaly Mckenna. Okay.
Maybe M1 as well.
He's
only knocked out twice, isn't he? Yeah, Mckenna and Derek Lewis. Yeah.
And Mckenna is pretty similar speed to Aspinall, if not a little slower, but like still like a fat. Yeah, you got Tom all the way. I'd love to see a little bit of the jiu-jitsu out of Tom because he is a legit black belt, and so that's where I'd like to see him particularly take the fight. But yeah, we're all on that Tom Aspinall minus 125 favorite right now is Tom, plus 110 on Volkov. I think both sides are going to be loving that price. I think both sides are going to be pretty convinced on their decisions. I'm curious how many people are listening to either side's arguments and really being like, because the people I've talked to who think Aspinall really think Aspinall. The people I've talked to Volkov really think Volkov. And that's how you get odds like this. So it's going to be, I think it's a great fight. I think it's a really interesting main event. And yeah, we're all on Aspinall here. And that's going to do it for the UFC London, UFC Fight Night in London. Got the Cage Warriors 134 card breakdown already on the channel. Myself and Lewis did it yesterday. And then nice job, Visceral got Tom at plus 100. Enjoy your dog. enjoy the dog price on Aspinall because that's not coming back. Yeah, then that will do it for the UFC London show. Killing it over here. I really like the different perspectives that we're able to offer here. Josh, I never know where you're coming from with your picks, and that's I mean that with all respect. Visceral, always in the comments here. Appreciate you, man. Many, we had really solid audience today. 20 people for the most part for this one. So appreciate everybody stopping by or checking it out later. Timestamps will be in eventually. I have to look at a few of these times because I forgot to write them down. So I got to figure out the Aspinall one and a few other ones that no one cares about. But PFL Challengers Series with Lucky Locks tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Greenwich Means Time for Lewis over there because England goes through a time change 2 weeks after we do. Learned that earlier today. So they spring forward on the 28th. We sprung forward on Sunday. So time's a flat circle. It's all, perception of people. Keep taking care of each other out there. The world's fucked. Peace out.